Okay, I'm making this video for the non-Danielles and non-Ericas of Master Manager world. Excuse me, I just want to share a couple of things that I learned working with them, and Karen and Jen and Mary and Liz, working with Mastery Manager and writing the questions. If you already know you need to get into work groups, my content, it'll look like you don't have anything. So you go to your work groups, and I'm going to use Math 3 because it highlights a couple of things that I discovered. First things first, I suppose a really neat feature that I found is that you can copy your question, and you could do more than one thing at a time. So if you notice here, as you check these check marks go up in number. So it's telling you like you're talking or you're selecting 4 different things. If I would want to reuse something, and that would be something like this, and I'll explain what this is in just a minute, I would go ahead and be able to use this little thing here to create a copy. And then it would be called the same thing. I name it, it just would have copy in front of it. So that's an example of what that would look like. Now you're also seeing some of these exclamation points here. I'm not able to examine this one, and that's something I will talk to you about. I'm trying to get resolved. I made a copy of a question that Karen made because I was going to fix the little problem. We can kind of tell what it is right here. I think the issue, and you get these little alerts, is when there's a problem with your question, or an issue, I should say, with your question. Here the issue is it's not complete because we have missing answer choices. Let me see if I can find one in another drive that's got the error. Okay, so now this one, and I'll talk about why this is goofy in just a minute. I can go ahead and edit this question. And then what I can do is I can scroll down, or I can look down here, and I can click on that help. Notice it has that same little icon, and it tells me that these are my possible mistakes that I made. Let's see. And kind of, if you notice, as I hover over all of these questions here, whether they were created by me or someone else, I'm able to edit. And that's because of the permissions that were set by the person who created the work groups. Now here's the goofy thing. I'm going into Honors Math 3, and I made a copy of Karen's question to fix the missing information, and I do not have the ability to edit even my copy. I could see her original question, but I can't edit her copy. According to Doris, this is the way the work group is set up, and the only way it can change is the person who set the group up has to change these responsibilities. And I also think it's a little bizarre here because look in the Honors Math 3, when I click this, it seems like all of these are typed in, hard-coded. But then I look at how Integrated Math 3 is. There's only one that's hard-coded, which happens to be me for some reason. But then these other things are flexible. So I'm thinking that must be because I have, like, for some reason, control here, and I can change people's access so that I guess they can, hopefully, I think for all of us, we should be able to make copies of each other's questions, because that's just going to facilitate creating questions more closely. So I guess that's a little bit of an aside. All right, so creating the questions. That's pretty easy. I mean, you hit create your question. For us, we would start typing our question, and then to get our math stuff, we go up here, and this works kind of like the other equation editors. There's some hotkeys, so I'm going to do my cosine, and then I hit the shift and the caret. That gets me up in the numerator, or up as a superscript. Then I arrow over and back down on base level, and then I've got my fractions here. And you can change this. You can change it in here as well, but I'm just going to change it up in the editor. And I think actually I'm going to want to give this parentheses because it's got that minus sign. So now I have our cosine of -1/2, and then I'm going to insert that. Okay, I could, if I wanted it to be multiple choice, I leave this as a single bubble. That means there's one correct answer. Multiple bubbles would mean I could have multiple correct answers. I think the rest of these are pretty self-explanatory. This is the one that I was interested in, is the gridded response. If you notice, this current grid is not adequate to respond to this question because the correct answer is 2/3 of a pi. So I'm going to need to modify what this looks like. So what I would do is I would hit this gear and I would pick custom. And then this is where we have to do a little bit of a math. I mean, my answer could look like a negative and a fraction, and it might have a pi in it. So I'm thinking I need to include how many choices here? I need the 10 digits, 0 to 9. That would be 10. Then I need my negative. I need my fraction bar, and I need my pi. So the number of choices I would enter here would be 13. And this was all figured out by Danielle, certainly not me. All right, so now I got to get my 13. So I hover over, I click, it gives me my first box. My first box is going to be my sign if it's negative. Then my second choice is going to have to be my operator here. And then I need to go get the pi. So this is where we need to have some other program open, like let's say Word or some other place, Google, whatever, that has these things that we need, the pi symbol, the square root, the things that aren't already included. And so we just want to copy that. And then go back. And I'm just going to paste it right in there. Now it might look like it didn't show up. If you accidentally copied a space before it, then that's what you're going to see in this box, because I think you can only put one character in here. And then now I'm going to put in my 0, 1, all the way through 9. And I know you're thinking, wow, Arlene, this seems like a really pain in the butt. And I would say, yeah, initially maybe it is, but then Danielle showed me we can just add our next column of responses. And now this is the next little math thing we have to think about. How many of these columns do we need? Well, I need one for the minus, one for the numerator, one for the division operator, another one for the denominator, and another one for the pi. So that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I just have to add 3, 4, and 5. And then I have to enter the correct answer again because my answer needs that pi and a fraction in it. I need to go somewhere where I can create that. And I will highlight here, again, Danielle is an extraordinary smart person and great detective because she discovered, if you notice here, I went ahead and put in like a space in between the minus and the fraction. And when I did that and put that in the answer choice, and because I didn't have a column for the space, I got one of those errors and I couldn't figure out what the heck was going on. So don't do that. Just type in exactly what you want to copy. And then we want to make sure that we're going to name them. I think Erica's going to help us with this maybe going forward next year when we're not in such a mad scramble. I would suggest that like all teams that are working together kind of decide on the convention that you're going to use for naming your items. What we discussed here was trig value. This is inverse cosine, and this is me. And I think this is, let me check. I think this is the first inverse cosine problem that I made. So I'm calling it number 1. And then if you noticed, I don't have any alerts that this problem is wrong or incorrect. And now if I wanted to do another problem like this, another either arc cosine or arc sine problem, I could just copy this one. And then when you want to copy, you want to designate that you want it to go into Math 3 Honors. And then you want to copy the item and then go ahead and create it. And where is my copy? Oh, there's my copy. And then if I don't want that copy, I can just go ahead and delete it. And I must have something else highlighted that I don't want to delete, which I can't really see what else I have highlighted here. Oh, okay. Oh, so that's something I just discovered. If you're in multiple work groups, this number will have you can like inadvertently delete something in another workspace. So just make sure it's always like clicked to the 1, and it's the one that you want before you delete it, which I think maybe is why permissions are set up the way they are. So that might be a conversation that we need to have. So I'm going to pick this one here, make a copy. I'm going to put it here. And I think I must be putting, oh, I'm in the wrong spot. That's why this was put in the wrong thing. Okay, that was my issue. Okay, so let me do this correctly. I want to copy this and I want to put it in Math 3 Honors and create. Here's my copy, finally. And so now I can edit this. Okay, sweet. And so I go here under the edit, and then I can use all of these responses again for another arc cosine. I just need to change my argument here. This time we're going to take the arc cosine of 0. And then I need to fix my answer. Since I copied it, now I just need to adjust this and make it pi over 2 instead of pi over 3. And then I've got all my gridded response stuff already constructed. Oh, and then I probably want to change my name here. It is trig value inverse cosine, but this is the second one that I did. So hopefully some of these tips and hints, things that I discovered were helpful. If not, sorry.